All right, Bulls and Bears, back in the building, back with another dose. BX4, Bull to the bust. Ride the Bull, prepare for the Bear. Let's go ahead and get into the financial economic news reporting and our update for today. Thank you for being here. We've got a lot of shocking, surprising, concerning, and maybe even some distressful news regarding the economy, the financial situation, where we're at, and where we're headed. So please make sure you subscribe. Let's go ahead and start off with this here on the credit card debt situation. And we just hit a new milestone, folks. U.S. credit card debt rises to average of more than $10,000 per household, according to a recent report. According to the personal finance website Wallet Hub, consumers added $21 billion in debt over the third quarter. Keep in mind, this does not yet include holiday spending, which we're going to see probably some pretty frightening numbers for this fourth quarter. We're going to see that in January. But for now, we do know that we're at unprecedented territory. The study found credit card balances around $10,757 on average. According to Wallet Hub, the fourth quarter is going to be even worse, extending the new record high in absolute terms. Wallet Hub editor John Kiernan wrote, quote, even though that third quarter increase was 31% smaller than last year's, the total debt is 3% above where it was last year. And we call this dangerous territory, unquote. These early fourth quarter results showing record high credit card debt for October are alarming. Do we know what's driving it all? And the story continues. Of course, we know. We've talked about it here plenty of times. It is, folks, the cost of living. Normally, when people can't afford things, prices level out or even come down because demand drops and slows down. But when people can continue to take on more and more debt enabled by the banks, prices will still continue to rise, folks. This whole thing is based on banks and how banks operate. Very simple, right? The money supply and demand, it's got to be a balance, folks. And when you have an imbalance, meaning endless bank lending, meaning the banks can loan out money no matter what, aka too big to fail, then you're going to see the cost of living continue to go up. Now, there have been some categories and some areas where we see prices coming down. We need more of that, though, to make things easier for most people. I just don't like seeing most of the population struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, because when that happens, you have a rise in crime, you have a rise in scammers. And speaking of that, there's some car dealers that got busted here recently for scamming people. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. But when the cost of living is too high, folks, a lot of dangerous things happen. And the rise in crime is very concerning. And we're seeing this across the United States, especially in the larger cities. And this is just one of the reasons why inflation and the cost of living needs to be tamed. Not to mention just the stress, the financial stress that people are going under, working two jobs, more people commuting to their work, to their jobs, very tired from working two jobs, multiple jobs, and just the stress of having so much debt. And now each person is different. Some people don't mind carrying endless amounts of debt or carrying debt forever. Other people don't like to be under debt. They feel like it's a shackle, and they feel like they're basically a servant to the bank when they always owe money and have to keep on working, sometimes in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. Now, when consumers are so loaded up on debt, car dealers and other retailers, but especially car dealers, are going to find, let's say, interesting ways of trying to get people behind a vehicle, selling junk vehicles, lemons, but also scamming people. Have you guys seen this story here out of Pasadena here in Southern California of this car dealer? Let me just bring up a clip here on it. Take a listen to what this person experienced going in to a car dealer here in Southern California. And then this led to a lot of other things that we'll get into in a bit here.
Around town.
She told me you wanted this Volkswagen for $1,500. I'm like, yeah.
They go look at the car, but it doesn't start. Same
$1,500 car doesn't start, no surprise.
deal with a few others.
The accountant comes in. She's like, okay, so we have other cars, but the owner wants to make sure we could take all the cash.
Well, it's a red flag, but Alicia trusts them.
The owner wants to make sure we can take all the cash? I would be out of there as soon as I heard that. What does that mean?
The lady coming back with no money, just a receipt.
I'm like, no, I didn't pay for anything. I didn't want to even buy a car until I test drive it. From there,
It's already in a safe. First of all, you shouldn't have to pay money to test drive a car. I've never heard of a car dealer doing that. The way that they presented it to her, it sounds like they said, oh, it's a deposit. That way if something happens, you'll pay for it. But she didn't get her money back after choosing not to buy a car. So there's the scam. Let's continue here.
it's here.
To this day, Alicia.
I feel like I got scammed.
Yeah, and so the news reporting people went in there and they basically got hostile to the reporters here.
David, how are you? That's okay. My name's Gage. I'm with KPRC2 News. Hey, we got a question about a deal that happened with a young lady. Well, can we step outside and talk? Don't grab the camera. Don't.
Grabbing the camera. To me, that's guilty right there. Isn't it the most hostile people that are usually guilty? You see these traffic encounters where the police are pulling people over, and immediately the people start yelling and screaming, fighting, or running. You usually know they're guilty, right?
Don't touch the camera.
That's photojournalist Oscar
There's the cameraman right there. He's grabbing the cameraman's camera and grabbing him by the arm.
Chavez telling Estrada we're leaving. Meanwhile, the car salesman is grabbing his camera, twisting his arm and throwing elbows.
Get your hands
Okay, if you didn't scam anybody, why are you so worried, right?
off the camera.
Estrada smacking my phone through the air, pinning Oscar in our SUV.
Our property. Come on. We're trying to get out.
What is wrong with you?
We can get out.
Can you look at what you're doing? Look at what your hands all over his stuff. Ow! That ain't yours.
All of this over his dealings with Alicia, which ended with Pasadena police hauling Estrada out.
Justice is served. Don't you love justice being served? Like when that car is speeding by you at 100 miles an hour and then the cops pull out behind him. Have you ever seen that happen? I've seen that happen twice in my life where the cops actually there when they should be there with these speeding drivers. Anyways, justice is served, but this leads to a lot bigger situation, which we're going to talk about.
Cuffs for assaulting us.
Now, the goal of this story wasn't to create any drama. It was to get answers for Alicia.
So they got him for assault, but that uncovered a lot of other things. So then that led to a lot of other things. Take a look at this.
Recorded. Hands off the camera.
Just like how car lot manager David Estrada strong-armed photojournalist Oscar Chavez out of the front door, many of these victims say they were bullied, some persuaded and pressured into buying extended warranties, all for vehicles these lawsuits claim were junk from the get-go. The latest filed this past June, claiming the car lot had her pay before shipping in a 2015 Kia Sportage. That car arriving with body damage, a cracked windshield, and wouldn't drive faster than 60 miles per hour.
So they were scamming all over the place, folks. Junk cars, making people pay deposits and not giving their deposits back if they didn't buy a vehicle. But it gets worse.
Another lawsuit claiming the internal components of the vehicle were tampered with, and the car wasn't even safe to drive anymore. It's not just cars that don't run right. In a lawsuit filed in March of 2023, the car lot is accused of rolling back the odometer or trying to arrest.
Odometer fraud, folks. But take a look at what else. And when they looked further into it, they found that this guy had embezzled over $140,000. Take a listen.
To Thursday, that's when he assaulted us, and we met him and he was arrested. But on Wednesday, the day before we met him, the Harris County Sheriff's Office also filed charges, and you can see a little birthday cake. That's also his birthday, the 27th birthday for him. The warrant that they filed claiming that while working at Fred Haas Nissan in Tomball, he stole $144,000 from the company. That money was down payments for the cars purchased by more than 70 people.
So he was even scamming people at a previous car dealership, and this was a Nissan dealership.
This is David Estrada, the manager of Strawberry Road Auto Sales in Pasadena. He's holding photojournalist Oscar Chavez in our news SUV on Thursday. We're here to confront him about a deal his dealership made.
Get your hands off the camera.
It's this altercation right here that popped the top off his criminal past. He's been booked into jail a handful of times dating back to 2019. Once for assaulting a family member, another for interfering with a police officer's duty.
What kind of person is this? How do these people even run businesses for that long? Like, how do these people last this long operating a business and still remain in business? It's mind-blowing to me. What do you think about this? Let me know down in the comments, folks. Anyways, he got shut down and he got booked. And the woman there at the front that told us she got scammed, she got her money back. So good news there. Bottom line is, be careful out there. Shady dealerships, car dealerships, have always been around, but it seems like it's definitely increasing lately. Dealerships selling flood-damaged vehicles from the recent storms. So you've got to be really, really careful. Look at the title history and the registration history. See where it was registered. Was it registered in Florida or one of those states, along the time or about the time when those events happened? The more desperate people are for cheaper vehicles, because vehicles are so outrageously priced right now, the more you have to be careful. And look out for these smaller dealerships. I'm sure there's some good ones out there. But as you saw, even that dealer was working at a franchised dealership. I shouldn't say that dealer, that scammer was working at a franchise dealership, and he was even scamming people there. So be careful wherever you go, folks. Now let's shift gears a little bit, folks. We've got the incoming administration talking about cuts to spending. And I just want to read off a list of some examples of just silly spending by the quote-unquote leadership here. Gambling for pigeons, right? And there's no dates on these. These could go back to previous administrations. The National Institute of Health granted $465,000 to researchers at Reed College in Portland, Oregon, to create, quote, a token-based economy where pigeons are taught to gamble with slot machines. I'm not making this up, folks. This is out of Campus Reform. Campus Reform. Let me just bring up a screenshot here. 10 outrageous taxpayer-funded research projects. All right, let me just continue here. $592,000 at Emory University in Atlanta to explore why chimpanzees throw feces. What? I'm not even joking, folks. Bees on cocaine. The National Institute of Health funded over $240,000 to study the impact of cocaine on honey bees. With the cocaine in their system, the bees were more likely to dance. That's what they concluded. Did it help them make more honey? And how would that honey make you feel if you ate some of that? Shrimp on treadmills. $1.3 million to make shrimp run on tiny treadmills at the College of Charleston in South Carolina. $500,000 study if selfies make you happy. People taking these selfies with their cameras found out that yes, people's moods were elevated after taking selfies. $500,000 for that, folks. So you can see the type of silly spending that's happening here, folks. And this is only enabled when you have an endless debt system that we have right now. Now, folks, let's shift over to retail, and we've got an update on the implosion of the dollar stores. We already saw the 99-cent store go out of business completely. Dollar Tree and other related stores have closed 700 of its poorly performing Family Dollar stores. And the update now, Behemoth Dollar Tree has shuttered 670 of its underperforming Family Dollar stores so far, about 2/3 of nearly 1,000 it plans to close as it considers whether to sell or spin off the struggling chain. And I've talked here about my bad investment in Dollar Tree. I thought that was going to be one of the stores that was going to do well. And I was surprised that the 99-cent store went out of business as well. But what we found out was there was a lot of theft or shrinkage, as it's called in the retail industry. But yeah, that stock was a loser for me. Overall, still doing pretty well in my portfolio. With the stock market going up, I wish I was more heavily invested, but I still sense a lot of danger ahead. We've got global conflicts expanding as we said they would, and we still have, I think, a lot of big risks out there, and I think we need to be careful at this time. But that's just my opinion. Please let me know what you think about all this down in comments. The woman getting scammed at the car dealer, which opened up a bunch of other fraudulent details about that particular person at the car dealer. And it seems like their finance person and the office girl that they said that told the news crew that the money was in the safe, or they told the girl that, seems like they would also be guilty in this here. So we'll have to see how this unfolds, and I keep you updated on that. But what do you think about that video? What do you think about the credit card debt numbers that we talked about at the very beginning, a new record? Is it going to end, or Will banks just keep loaning out money regardless of the debt levels? And then we're just going to see inflation continue to take off? Or do you see deflationary forces taking over in the next few months with all the changes that are going to be implemented? Do you see deflation, and do you see a collapse, or do you see a massive inflationary expansion that's going to just continue to make things more expensive? Please let me know what you think about all this down in the comments. Everybody, will talk very soon. Keep stacking. Bye for now. Peace.